People pleasers, high performing people pleasers. I need you to understand two things. One, you're exceptionally talented. You're everything Black excellence could hope to be. And number two, you're completely vulnerable as a target to your resident narc because of the people-pleasing wiring that you've acquired, usually from childhood trauma. And so rather than being able to navigate how well you're doing by having an internal compass to confirm that, right? Inner-directed high performers, which is the first type, we know when we're doing great. We just know. We do great regardless of who's applauding and who's watching, etc. Right? So that means that our high performance is not currency for someone else having to give us something or do something in order for us to produce that high of a quality of performance. But people pleasers, it's another story. So I love y'all, but you got an Achilles heel, which is as soon as the applause stops, right? As soon as the acknowledgement stops. And don't let somebody else get credit for what you just did. For God's sake, you will be spinning forever. So those are the things that make you vulnerable to being targeted by your resident narcissist at work, because you need, like a crack addict needs crack, affirmation, adulation, applause, kudos, support, a feedback loop that is forever going so that you know I'm doing good, I'm doing okay, I am being pleased, I'm being pleasing, I'm being agreeable, which is what you're really wired for. But it is a trauma response that will put you in the same vulnerable spot that your childhood trauma placed you in. So I'm speaking to you now so that you can begin to sort of like pay attention to how you're going to be either caught or caught up or targeted and successfully tortured in the workplace or eliminated as a potential threat, right? So pay attention to how much you crave being acknowledged, right? What happens to you in a meeting if you don't get called on so you can have a chance to talk about what you're doing, what your performance was, what deliverables you presented this week or this month? What happens to you when you don't get those opportunities to be put out front so that the people who matter know that you're fantastic, right? So it probably creates a little bit of anxiety, some overthinking, and then as soon as a bit of the feedback is removed or diminished or reduced, you start to panic about perhaps your overall worth is being questioned, and maybe they're thinking about firing you, or maybe they're going to be transferring you. You really do spin out. And so pay attention to that and understand that that's what makes you vulnerable to the very same people that you revere and you depend on for the lifeblood of, you know, a long, never-ending stream of atta girls. You're doing great. You're fantastic. We couldn't live without you, and all of that. Because, girl, I got news for you. Eventually, that's going to come to an end. Eventually, you're going to be replaced with somebody who's cuter, prettier, younger. And then what? Do you plunge yourself into depression and go to the doctor to get medication to deal with the depression because you can't deal with not being important? Right? So these are things that impact your mental health that most likely have been out of your consciousness until you started to follow me about workplace trauma and high performers. And now that it's in your consciousness, it's up to you to begin to do the work, to be introspective, to be reflective about how you contribute to your own trauma, how you become a hostage to those who provide the thing that you need in order to live and breathe, which is positive feedback, affirmations, and applause. And once you've identified that and you can cop to, yes, I know this is my issue. Yes, I know it's my Achilles heel. what can I do about it? There's plenty of stuff you can do about it. But the first thing is forcing yourself to acknowledge that as soon as the spotlight is taken away, the applause draws quiet, the curtains close, you are likely to spin and fall the fuck apart. So, and that none of that's real. That's based on your delusion that, first of all, that kind of feedback is never going to end, and secondly, that you need it in order to confirm and know for sure that you the shit, that your high performance is just that, high performance, elite performer. And so until you figure out how to acknowledge that and then begin to practice the skills that are necessary to move yourself away from needing to be a people pleaser and showing up in agreeableness every day, you're going to sort of stay a gigantic target. But there's hope. So you just have to pay attention, acknowledge your issues where you can, acknowledge it as trauma, and follow my page or my, schedule an appointment, and we can talk about how to turn your life completely around toward the positive and become more like the other type of people pleasers who don't need any kind of affirmation to know every day, every single day, every minute of every day, we the shit. There you go. I'll see you next time, girl.